Hey Double Dippers, I wanted to step in here real quick and let you know what this video is about, a little backstory behind the scenes of this video, so it makes a little more sense. So, this video was originally intended to be a podcast, the Reimagineering podcast, as we so called it. It was with my buddy Derek of Satisfactual Sign Co over on Instagram and TikTok. He might be on other socials. Let me know, Derek. But anyway, we had a blast making it. It was made a little while back, so all the information might not be completely up to date, but we did enjoy making it. We had lots of fun, put a lot of effort into it, so we wanted you guys to see it. So here's that video.
Nice.
All right, welcome to the Reimagineer podcast. The podcast for two theme park fans reimagine theme park attractions. I'm your host, Grant, and with me today, as always, is our co-host.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Derek from Satisfactual Sign Co.
All right, Derek, you want to tell us what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so this week, as we teased in the last episode, we are going to talk about Dinoland. I know we've talked about it and what Disney has talked about it for what, a year now, almost a year since D23, and rumors have been flying for years that Dinoland is going to get a retheme and reworking, and so we decided let's hop into Dinoland and talk about it. My favorite place.
Yeah, well, we might get into that later, but it is genuinely one of my favorite places. You look
Yeah.
behind me, there's a little bit of evidence of that there. Um, But yeah, so just a little background. We didn't go too far. We're not a Disney history podcast here, but just give a little bit of background here. So the opening date of Dinoland was April 22nd of 1998. Donald's Dino Bash is like the current incarnation of that land. And it started in summer of 2019. And one of the more recent events that has led to where we're at today is, of course, the closure of Primeval World, closed
Mhm.
in July 11th of 2020, which I don't remember exactly when they reopened from COVID. I don't know if that was like the day they reopened and they're just like, "Hey, it's gone." Like, but
Well,
actually, they didn't tear it down until a couple years later because I remember seeing some of the structure there when I moved down to Florida in 2022. So
it
still
so
standing
so
there.
since I worked over there, I do know that like for summer of 2019 was when it went down. And then they said they were going to move it to seasonal in 2019. So
Oh yeah.
and I think they probably, if that date, I'm guessing, was probably just a date that was like, it's like, I don't know when they officially permanently said it was closed, but
Mhm.
I mean, it was pretty much closed for a while. Like from like December of 2019. um I don't remember exactly. I do remember that they had moved it to seasonal operation. It wasn't
Yeah,
really even operating that often, I don't feel like, at that point. So
and
and when it
there's
did,
been lots of rumor there as to why it closed. I've
I know
heard some things on the
I know
street, I'm
stories.
sure. Yeah,
I know a lot of
I'm
stories.
sure you have some.
I unfortunately can't. I probably shouldn't tell those stories.
Yeah.
But I do know stories. I do know. I can tell this much about, not to get off too much about Primeval World, but I came into work one night, and actually where I worked at Animal Kingdom, backstage was, there was we called it the HUD. It was like a big tent, and it was right in front of the maintenance building for Primeval World. And I came into work one night in the parking lot there, and there were just all the Primeval World vehicles, like, were just all over the parking lot. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, there were like, I don't know, 30 ride vehicles out there, which was just like out of the blue. And that's how I kind of found out some information about. I don't want to go too much into that, but like, it was wild. So that was in summer of 2019 when that, I want to say it was maybe like May or June, actually. So um and they took
I
it
know when I
offline like
was working
immediately.
there, even up
Yeah.
to last year in 2023, I remember seeing Primeval World ride vehicles still
Yeah.
backstage parked down there.
I'm sure they
Um,
surplus them or something, or I don't know
yeah,
what they did, sold them for parts or something with them. But anyways, tangent on the Primeval World.
yeah. So then more recently we had Destination D23. I believe it was last year. I probably should have looked that up before I started. But last year ish, they announced that Moana and Zootopia could be replacing the land.
Right.
And then out of the blue, we got a I don't remember how the next announcement came out, but then they just one day just dropped it on. I remember seeing it on Facebook. They're like, "Oh, it's gonna be Indiana Jones and Encanto now." So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I don't know. That came out of there was I thought that was a D23, but maybe I'm wrong. There was a lot of blue sky stuff that was being dropped last year about Dinoland, and Zootopia has long been a rumor, because with Zootopia, overseas, the Zootopia area they just recently opened, I believe over there. Um, that had been a rumor even going back as far as like when I was working over there in 2019. I remember, that being a rumor, a big rumor. But what I was actually told is that there's an exclusivity agreement with the overseas parks, in particular in China and Japan, that they have like a certain amount of time whenever like a Zootopia opens, or was it Fantasy Springs or whatever it is. They have a certain amount of time where it's like an exclusivity thing, and you can't use that. So Tron is a good example.
yeah,
That's the reason it took a long time for Tron to really make it over here. Well, beyond the fact that it took like what 5 years to construct it,
yeah.
but they can't actually start building one here until that exclusivity agreement's is cleared. So that was Zootopia. The Zootopia thing with Dinoland, I was told actually from someone pretty high up over at Animal Kingdom that that wouldn't be a thing. But now that may be different now. This was like 2019, so at this point it probably is different, but yeah. So
All right, so I believe that brings us into the main portion of our program where we present to you what we came up with for our potential future of that area of Dinoland. And I believe Derek's going to take it away first.
sure, yeah. So I'll preface. Let me get. I'm going to go into story time for just a second before I get into
All
talking
right.
about the re-theme. Grant and I were talking about we kind of hinted at this at the last episode about how much he loves Dinoland, and I kind of jokingly am like, I love Dinoland too. So when I worked at Animal Kingdom, I spent a lot of time in Dinoland, and in particular in Dinosaur and the Boneyard. The Boneyard was another place I spent a lot of time in. I don't dislike Dino Land. I always felt like Dino Land was missing something, right? And I think that it's a very polarizing. It's a polarizing land for a lot of people. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of Disney fans in general. I mean, Grant knows, like it's either you love it or you hate it, kind of. And I can't think of like another. Can't think of another land that's really like that. Like I was trying to think, like Fantasyland people love, like yeah, maybe Avatar, maybe like I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of love it or hate it. Not
I
so
think
much as
you
Dino.
either love it or you're just like, like
Yeah, yeah, and then that's
that's
and that and I think that's kind of Dinoland, right? Like to some degree. And and I think some of that comes from the theming, right? Like some people don't understand the theming. If you really get into the story isn't actually that bad for Dinoland. Like it actually makes sense. It's a roadside attraction built around this discovery thing of the fossil, and all that makes sense. Like but if you actually look at what Disney wanted to do there originally, what the Imagineers had kind of dreamed up for that area, and we'll get into some of that here in a second when I start talking about kind of my re-theme ideas. There was a lot that was missing from there just due to budgetary reasons, right? That happened with not only with Dinoland but with Beastly Kingdom and some other stuff there at Animal Kingdom where they kind of had to like cut back to they start running out of money. So but Dinoland, like going back to it, like I worked in there a lot, so I have a pretty intimate knowledge of the ins and outs of Dinoland and the attractions there. So and I'll try to kind of like drop some stuff in between as I'm talking about what my ideas are for it. So with that being said, let's get into what my re-theme idea is for Dinoland. So what I am proposing, this here is a sketch actually from an old D23 sketch, well, an old concept art of what Dinoland, kind of what the concept was for Dinoland. And I actually really like the sketch. This is a really cool like piece of art, and a lot of that came to fruition. I mean, you have the brontosaur, brachiosaur, what is that called? I don't know. Skeleton, and you can
I'm
kind of
not a
see the bone.
paleontologist.
Yeah, you can kind of see the boneyard and some other stuff going on there, and the restaurant over to the other side. Um, and I kind of am just throwing this out there initially, just so you guys have an idea of what kind of that area was proposed to be like. I really like this sketch too, and I'll talk about this here in a little bit. But I love the little like truck down here near the bottom.
Hmm.
That's like kind of like it's like he's at a dig site or something, right? And that's kind of cool. And that kind of goes along with my idea for the boneyard when I get to it here in a minute. But I'm going to read off, like, I actually wrote a synopsis for what my proposal is. So here we go. Discover lost civilizations, encounter exotic wildlife, and more amidst the lush tropical rainforest landscapes and ancient temples in Disney's new Indiana Jones adventure at Animal Kingdom. Uncover artifacts, decode ancient scripts, and experience the adventure of a lifetime in this exhilarating journey inspired by the legendary archaeologist himself. So, my idea is change the entire area. And we talked about the D23 thing. They already said they're going to do dinosaur and make it Indiana Jones. I propose you turn all of Dinoland into a tropical America, which is kind of what they're doing anyways, but you theme everything to Indiana Jones. And this will make a lot of sense, I think, once I get into it. But you would go with tropical America. You would theme all your attractions around Indiana Jones, but you use the landscape as to your advantage. So it's almost like you're in an Indiana Jones adventure, right? Like, you're going to have temples, and you're going to have, lush, like, rainforest type settings. I would even propose going back to this sketch here. You can see, kind of there in the middle, the crocodiles, like the little lagoon. Right now, currently, there are crocodiles there. I would propose you build like a little bridge area and still keep your animal enclosure there, and have, like, a place where you can walk across and see the crocodiles. Like, make it like you're in a rainforest, like, make it really cool, and, like, make the paths a little bit narrower, so it's like you're adventuring, right? um but that's what I'm thinking. You incorporate, animals, you incorporate, a lot of tropical landscape, so it still fits into that Animal Kingdom vibe. But you're centering it around an IP. I worry a little bit about, like, when you get into Encanto and some of these things that they're kind of proposing now, that it's going to come across a little like forced IP, in a setting where, the original Imagineers, Joe Rody and all them, like, their intention was for Animal Kingdom to be like this lush, cool environment. And I know we kind of have lost some of that along the way. But this is a great way to bring it back and have the IP, right? I'm trying to see if I have,
I just
look at
want
my
to
notes.
say, as a
What?
person that currently works in a zoo, I'm fairly certain those are American alligators, not crocodiles. But and I also would like to point out that at least when I was there, they told me that I was the largest American alligator, as long as
Oh,
I'm right on that.
really?
And her name is Marley. I remember that because she was from Jamaica, so they named after Bob Marley, so they went with
That's funny. Well, I think, and I think, yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, I think you could have a lot of things there, and you could do, like, animals that make sense for a I was thinking like a Central South America-ish kind of vibe.
Hmm.
I don't want to be too specific, because I think, that would be something where you would have to determine, like, are you doing Mayan ruins, are you doing like Incan, there's so many different kind
Yeah,
of like things you could determine. But with it being an Indiana Jones adventure per se, and I know Indiana Jones Adventure is what they call the ride at Disneyland. That was just kind of the name I threw out, because I was like, well, you could call it Indiana Jones Adventure at Animal Kingdom, right? Because it kind of is like, oh, like, this is a whole thing, like, it's an encompassing thing.
hmm,
um but I think incorporating animals that make sense for that area, and trying to figure out, one of the things they did a great job of, and they still have there, is the enclosures kind of feeling natural, so it doesn't look like a zoo enclosure per se.
yeah,
So I think incorporating creative ways to have those animals within this environment, because, the concept stuff I've seen for the Encanto and Indiana Jones, I don't really know if there'll be animals in there or not. um but I think it would be cool to at least keep some semblance of animal kingdom by having, like, alligators, crocodiles, whatever you want, caiman, I don't know, whatever you're having there. And then have some, like, maybe some tropical birds in there. I don't know what else, and probably some monkeys, stuff that's like kind of fitting to the environment. So and then you can kind of pepper that amongst, like, having, like, I think having smaller trails, like, for instance, there's the trail over near Dinosaur. There's a couple of trails near Dinosaur that kind of like meander through, and they'll have, like, sometimes during this Christmas they'll have lights there and stuff. But you could use those trails as, like, kind of like make it more adventurous and more like there's things to see there versus just being a trail.
Yeah.
Because they already have the other animal trails too around the park. So the other thing too, and this is, and I think I'll talk about this again later, but it's just kind of like a blue sky, throw it out there. Is I would almost propose you pull the land forward a little bit towards the water, because there's the river there, in the front. I'd almost propose you pull it out a little bit so you can have river access, but I'll get into that in a minute. So
You
that's
just let
another
me
part
know
of it.
when I have to go to the next slide.
Yeah, so let's go. We'll go. Dinosaur should be the next one. Let's go check out Dinosaur. All right, Dinosaur retheme. Okay, clearly, like, this one's an easy one, and I feel like I'm kind of punning this one, but um, we know it's going to be something similar to what's at Disneyland. I mean, let's be real here. The ride system is already there. I know people say the track is exactly the same. It isn't. It is not exactly the same as Disneyland's. I know that because I've been in it. And I've seen the track for Disneyland. It's a little bit different, but there's still plenty of room to work in within that building. I would propose that it's a different adventure than Disneyland, only because I think that creates more excitement for that area too, right? You need
Mhm.
you need it you
Yeah.
need it to be a good, like, e-ticket type attraction, and I think that this, I don't know what that adventure is. Clearly, I think one of the things I wrote down in my notes, and I'm like, bring in Tony Baxter. Tony Baxter, call up Tony Baxter and be like, "Hey, this is what we want to do. He's your man." Like, he helped with the one out at Disneyland, um, and I fully expect he could pull off something amazing here. I know people love the one. I'm not personally got to ride the one at Disneyland, but I know people love it.
Okay.
And even in the control tower for the operations tower at Dinosaur, when I would go in, they had like pictures and things from the one at Disneyland. So I'm like, it's almost like we're like, yeah, let's just do it. Like, let's just make it happen here. Dinosaur is very, like, it's very outdated. Like, I got to work in Dinosaur a lot. There's a lot of things that you can really still utilize a lot of that space in creative ways. To that opening room that you go into very first when you come through the time tunnel into that opening room, it's massive. I mean, that room, I don't know if people realize, but it is a huge room. And they used to have, like, misting effects in there and all kinds of cool stuff. And I was, like, blown away when I was in there. I was like, why doesn't this work anymore? And they're like, it just doesn't work. Like,
Yeah, I remember, the old, resort TV segment, I can't remember who the host of that was, but they went over, like, animatronic programming with that ride specifically,
yeah.
and, I forget the name of the dinosaur, but the one that's eating the other dinosaurs you come in, like, the
Oh, it's
dinosaur used to actually go into its mouth and
it starts with an A. Oh, why can't I'm gonna mess it up. So I was gonna say like a llama source, but that's not right at all. Like a llama. But yeah, that one, that is, yeah. I know what you're talking about. It starts with an A. I just can't
Mhm.
remember what the name of it is. We
I
know, so
if
we
I was
always call.
going through the ride audio, then I could tell you because I usually quote along with it, and I'm able to
Yeah. Well, so
name them,
so
but
we always called them by the figure number. So it was, like FA13 or whatever. That's just how we knew them. And so you just never called them by the name that they were, because the problem is if you call them by name, well, if you go into that attraction, there's three Carnotaurs in that attraction. So it's like there's three Carnotauruses in that attraction. And so if you say Carno, like, well, which one is it? Like, there's three of them. So um well, there's actually really technically four if you count the head at the end. But yeah, like, that ride is really it's worn out. Like I've loved dinosaur. Like I don't say I love dinosaur. I don't dislike dinosaur. I think it's a fun ride, but it's shown its age a lot lately. And you know, last time I rode it about 2 months ago, and it was struggling. Like a lot of the animatronics weren't working. So it definitely needs this retheme. So I think that you just go in and you give it a good, um, you know, good storyline. I don't know what that storyline is. Obviously, it's probably Indiana Jones chasing for some, you know, whatever it is, something in some adventure, chasing, you know, hey, bring some dinosaurs into it. I don't know. It's time travel. I don't know.
That
You know,
would
have
be
some fun with it.
throw in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, like
Yeah, right,
put some
exactly. I
aliens in
mean,
there.
well, they time traveled in this most recent movie, so I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, I
true,
don't know.
true. Yeah, Dial of
Um,
Destiny.
now I
Maybe that's
really,
what they were
I
hinting at. They
yeah,
told
I
them
think
like, when you make this movie, you got to make it time travel because we got to put a dinosaur ride and put Indiana Jones in there.
I really joking. I hope they don't do that, but I think you know you just you make it an adventure. I do think that they've got to have some sort of giant like the ball scene from the rolling ball sequence, boulder sequence from Disneyland. Like you got to have something big like that in this one to
Hmm.
kind of make it a big deal. And there's plenty of room. That building's huge. The building's huge, especially once they gut it and take everything out. It'll be a lot of space, like the ride system's already in place, just rethink the vehicles. You know, I don't think it would be a um, big deal. I was going to say, well, I wrote a little spiel. It says, embark on an exhilarating journey through forgotten jungles and ancient ruins aboard. Well, this is his new adventure at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Navigate treacherous traps and encounter exotic wildlife while searching for a legendary artifact. So, what that artifact is, I have no idea, but it's legendary apparently. So it's probably gold too. Just make it gold, you know, or shiny or something. I do think it would be cool. I think that thinking about the traps and stuff, I think it'd be cool. And maybe at Disneyland, I think they do incorporate some of the traps, but like having some like air pistons and things to make it feel
Hmm.
like darts are shooting, and you know, just have a lot of fun with it. So
Yeah, just
um
make it the Mummy at Universal.
well, you know, it's funny you said that because I literally was like, yeah, I thought about Mummy when you said that. Like when you, well, before you said that, I thought about Mummy when I was thinking about like how they incorporate like the fire and all these
Yeah.
cool effects. I'm like, that's what they need is something that's like kind of like over the top, cinematic, kind of
Hmm.
like really cool. Um, so yeah, nothing real exciting there. So we'll go. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one here. That should be Boneyard. All right, let's talk about Boneyard. Now, I propose with Boneyard. This is what I'm proposing with Boneyard. And this, I worked in Boneyard a lot. Like I painted way too many dinosaur bones when I worked at Animal Kingdom. I painted a lot of dinosaur bones. I would propose that you keep Boneyard, and you just reimagine what it is, right? Like you just go in and make it more like a dig site for like some ancient ruins, right? You've already kind of got like a good, I don't say good bones, but you got good bones. Um, so you go in. I think even like I actually left a picture of the Jeep there because I would propose like you know for theming and stuff, you bring in some of the like military trucks, you know, the big like Indiana Jones style military trucks. You know, obviously you don't be putting like anything from the villains, the symbols or anything on them.
Yeah.
That may be a little much, but I think like just having the trucks there, having some like wooden crates that look like they're like marked for like you know to go for like artifacts and things like that. And then I think also really go into the boneyard and make it more interactive. Um, Add some like really interactive elements. And I actually proposed, actually, Burn was on Boneyard. Well, I did say like have some like some maybe have some like interactive animatronics that are kind of outdoor animatronics. I was thinking a lot about, and this was just in recent memory, but over at Universal they just opened up DreamWorks Land, and they have a playground area for Shrek Swamp, like a Shrek Swamp, and they have like an interactive Pinocchio. You know, so
Hmm.
so maybe have some like something that's interactive. I don't know if it's like maybe some you know some monkeys or some animals or things that are kind of interactive with people within this setting. I think it'd be cool to have like some like artifacts like in the walls, like like obviously incorporate some artifacts that are from the movies, figure out ways to like kind of throw some Easter eggs in, but then have some like, gems that glow or something that's like really cool and mysterious looking. Kind of like the stones, what are they? The chakra stones, Shankar stones. I don't care
Oh,
how
I
you say
never
it.
know.
From Temple of Doom, the ones that kind of glow. So have some of that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, I think with Boneyard, like you keep it fairly similar. Another thing I propose, and this is probably going a little bit far off the deep end, but I feel like Disney's lacking this is to have something interactive, like something that's like land wide interactivity. And I know they do the Disney Play app, right? Like the Disney,
Hmm.
you can do the app on your phone, but and like the bounty hunting, like I think there's bounty hunting now with like the Magic Band or whatever. But
Yeah.
maybe incorporate the Magic Band Plus and like have like legit interactive kind of thing. So it's like, oh, when you touch a like artifact, it causes something to shake or something to steam or like something cool to happen. But you have to have like the Magic Band. I'd hate to be the person that's like, well, buy the Magic Band so you can use it, but at least give people the reason. So
Yeah.
and do that like you could do that throughout. And I hate to keep using Universal as an example, but Harry Potter or Super Mario World,
Yeah.
they have so many interactive elements within them, and I feel like that's one of those things where Disney's really missing out on it because I see Jace, my son, I see him go to Universal and like be like, man, I want to do my one, I want to do this, and those ones aren't cheap. so
Yeah.
so I think like adding some of that into you could have it in Boneyard, you could have it throughout the land, you could have it throughout Animal Kingdom. um, but I think it makes sense in an Indiana Jones kind of setting because you could some of that kind of that mystical kind of there's always kind of that weird like oh like the ark does something or the cup does something or like whatever it is the crystal skull does something or like so just kind of add some of those elements in and I know that's a little bit more out there like blue sky out there than the stuff that they normally would do but I don't know what the name. I also put like I don't know what the name would be. Probably add something with dig in it, the dig site or something. I don't know, or just don't name it
Dig
at all. Just be like
I mean, the
it's
dig site is currently the one that's across the way where the kids can dig in the gravel for
oh, is
the
that called the
bones and
dig
stuff.
site? I've always just called it all boneyard. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's boneyard.
I
So
know this because
um,
I've taken my son there many a times.
it's funny. I've never taken the kids over there. I know where it's at. So another thing you could do too is like have like like have interactive like um kind of like in the queue line at Haunted Mansion where there's like codes and things, right? Like where there's and I know that actually I've read that at Disneyland as well, they have a decoder thing for decoding like things in the queue line, like symbols and things. And so I think like doing some of that within Boneyard would be really cool. That's just I don't know, just my idea, but um so yeah, more so you just do like work equipment, have like boxes and stuff around to kind of reiterate that there's like it's an active site and there's people taking things out and um you could even have like your workers like I think it was this is probably going a little far, but have your workers kind of dress up in that like olive like kind of like they're like working a like a dig site like military or something. um I don't know, I think that would be cool, but um
Whatever it is, it just has to be really breathable.
has he really? Yeah, has he really? Well, luckily costuming. Well, I say that they don't always do a good job, but they do typically. They do typically.
The
So
new so I was around for the switch of PhotoPass costumes to the new lime costumes,
yeah,
and those were definitely a lot more breathable and
yeah,
lightweight as well. Not
yeah. And
100%
I like
cotton like
yes.
the original.
It's funny you say that because like I think about like all the time. Like man, like I see costumes. I'm like, I was lucky because I work nights, so I wore blue jeans and a t-shirt. Like I was pretty, and that was pretty much my work attire and a vest, my work vest, my high vis vest. But that was pretty much it. So I got away with like wearing pretty comfortable clothing most of the time. So every once in a while we had to dress up, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So but yeah, like but anyways, boneyard, like I think it's really easy. It's really easy to keep it. and not really have to. I mean, you're going to have to change some things. You're going to have to come in there and add some ruins and that kind of stuff, right? But it's workable. So before I go to the next thing, which is Dinorama, what I was going to say is like when I thought this up, like Grant and I, part of like this whole the reimagineering of things, right? Reimagineer of things, is to we'll probably do some wildly out there kind of ideas, but then also sometimes we'll try to keep it as realistic as we can. And this one, I was trying to kind of keep it pretty realistic, because I'm like, well, what is it they'd be willing to do, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm like, there's a lot of things where you could spend millions and millions and millions of dollars, well, probably more than that, tens of millions of dollars to redo a certain area, or you could kind of work with the bones that you've already got there and try to really like create like up that area, right? Like plus that area, but it would be somewhat recognizable still, to people. So that's kind of what I was going for with all of this, and hopefully that'll kind of play out as I go. I've only got a few more things. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. This is a good one. Okay, so this was one I wanted to save for kind of towards the end, because I think this is where um so Dinorama, right? The Dinorama area. We were talking about Primeval World earlier, right? Primeval World, one of the biggest problems with Primeval World to me, this is my personal opinion, just throwing it out there, it's my opinion. But is that Primeval World it was, it was a crazy mouse coaster, right? Like a crazy mouse coaster, pretty standard. I can go to Fun Spot, I can ride one. You can go to the fair sometimes and ride one, right? Um,
Yeah.
and the original concept for the Dinorama area was actually an attraction called the Excavator. This is going back into some history here of Dinoland. You can see some of the concept art here, Excavator. So it was kind of a mix of the dig site, the boneyard, and then kind of extending that into a wooden coaster. So you can see actually the picture there is actually what the excavator, kind of the proposed concept art for what the excavator would be, which was kind of dinosaur-esque, right? And um, it was supposed to look kind of like a T-Rex, right? So the excavator was a wooden coaster. The proposal was for a wooden coaster. Now I do know that like later on, obviously you got Expedition Everest, which is a excellent roller coaster. I mean, I love Expedition Everest. So you may be like, well, do they need another, roller coaster at Animal Kingdom? I would propose that they do, because Animal Kingdom has a severe lack of, and I'll say a severe lack. It has a lack of the big e-ticket type rides, right? It also has a lack of like those mid-range rides too. It has a lack of rides in general, but
Yeah.
but I would propose that like they they use that area for the Dinorama area. Sorry, I apologize. I was kind of off track there. The Dinorama area for a Indiana Jones themed minecart roller coaster. In Disneyland Paris, and there's a couple of pictures at the bottom you'll see there, some proposals. Actually, sorry, I think the one on no, that is okay. Those are the Disneyland Paris, or actually is Temple of Peril at Disneyland Paris, which is a minecart Indiana Jones coaster. Um, it's pretty cool. I mean, you can see some of the pictures there, but I also think you could kind of up it. It's do something similar, but up it a little bit. I also think that it should be wooden. The one at Disneyland Paris is a steel coaster. I personally think you should go wood. Like a wood coaster would be something different for Disney. I don't think well, they have the wood Incredicoaster, I believe, is a wood coaster,
Yeah.
yes, or a
I think
hybrid at
that's
least. It,
probably something like that.
I believe it's a hybrid, like a hybrid steel wood coaster, but because it has the loop in it, I know that, so that would mean it's hybrid. But I would propose you go wood, like a wood coaster. There's something about a wood coaster, right? That's just like the rickety and the like the kind of the fun of like, I don't know. I love a good wooden coaster. And you kind of like, I think you could build that out as like a coaster, kind of like as part of like the original concept, like it was, kind of extend that out from the boneyard like it's part of a dig site, right? Like and you could kind of interweave it between the jungle and like ruins and all of that stuff. Very similar to what they did with Temple of Peril. Um, or it's, I think it was, believe it's like Temple de Peril. I don't know. I'm not my French isn't that great, but do something similar to that, but within like, you know, that, and have it be a wooden coaster, and do like a really cool Indiana Jones minecart type thing. I did kind of partially think about like, should they do almost like what Universal's doing, but I'm like, it may not be the best idea what they're doing with Donkey Kong, which is that arm coaster
Yeah,
where you
the
can kind of make it look
coupon or
like
whatever.
it's jumping and stuff, you know.
Mhm.
And I was like, that could be a cool idea, but I'm also like, then you have kind of two similar rides in Orlando, that may be a little too similar. Um, you know, you could do some other stuff with that attraction. Another thing I thought about too, when I saw this, down here in the bottom right, you can see that, I think it's Theme Park Connection, I believe, had posted, but an original concept where you actually can see for Disneyland, they proposed a roller coaster, minecart coaster that actually went through Indiana Jones Adventure.
Wow.
So you can see that track going through at the top, and you can see people kind of see. It's hard to see because it's small, but people
Yeah.
riding through over top of the Indiana Jones Adventure vehicle there in the bottom right. So sounds like it could be cool if they could figure out a way to do that at here at
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom, where you could kind of have those two rides interact with each other in a really cool, you know, fun way, where like, you know, you come through, and it's almost like part of the adventure attraction too, right? Like where you're coming through and there's people beneath you, and it's, you know, you know, lights and stuff. It would be cool, I think. But um I don't know if that's realistic. You'd probably have to take out the what's the I can't think of the name of it over there, the rest stop, the gift shop, to do it. Um, but I mean, I think it would be
Yeah.
cool. I don't know, to pitch it to go through. Um, yeah. So I was reading my notes here. I say it would be unlikely, but it would be cool if it interacted with a rethemed dinosaur similar to the original concept art. So yeah, I don't know. I think that would be really cool though. Like think about like just
Yeah.
riding in, and it's like you're going, like make it like you're going into the ruins, right? Like there'd be an entryway where you shoot in, and you go around and you come around and you kind of go over or under a ride vehicle or whatever, and then you come back out. You know, it doesn't have to be like a long interaction, just like a, you're just going through, right? Because I'm trying to think like beyond like People Mover, like there's not really any attractions that really do that, are there, at Disney World?
I mean, the railway used to, well, I mean, it still goes through Splash. I don't know if you can still see Tiana's through the railway now. I don't know if they're
Right.
waiting to open those after the previews are done or whatever, but yeah, that other than those 2, I can't think of another one.
Yeah, I just think it would be a cool, like that to me, when you can kind of intertwine pieces of the stories, like that's a really cool thing to be able to do. Um and to me, like when I always look at, like when I look at retheming things, like I'm also like, what would make this like and I think that this goes for anything that they do, but like what makes it better, right? Like what makes it a better experience for everyone. And I think that's not a crazy, now engineering wise, I don't know what, you know, what would it would entail, but I don't know that it necessarily would be like insane to do either, though, you know, because that ride building for Dinosaur extends pretty far over. um so to have that coaster, because the coaster is going to be big anyway, a coaster is pretty big anyways. um to have that coaster interact with that building, I would think you could probably arrange that, you know, because I think about like, and you know, I use Universal a lot because I'm here, and that's kind of, but they had a Rip Ride Rocket. Rip Ride Rocket kind of goes through the building at one point when it's coming
Mhm.
down and around, and so just something kind of like that, like where it's just like a quick, you know, like coming around, going through, and coming back out kind of thing. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that like the dinorama area, you clear that out, you make a nice like wooden coaster there. There's not a ton of space extending out beyond like Dino Land there in the back. because there's a marina and something. They could take out the marina and some stuff, but so I think you have to kind of somewhat work within the current blueprint, the current footprint of Dinoland for whatever you're going to do. Um, so it's not like, if you really think about Dinoland, it's not a huge space comparative to like even like Asia or Africa or whatever,
Hmm.
which are much larger footprints than that. So. Um, but let's go to the next one. This is kind of a silly one. We'll go to the next one. Let's try it out though. All right, restaurant source. I didn't really post any. These are actual pictures of what restaurant source looks like now. But my proposal would be that you make this. This is, I'm going to read my synopsis here. Step into the world of adventurous aviation and dining and spirits at Jock Lindsay's Grill at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Enjoy a blend of exotic cuisine and daring cocktails amidst aviation memorabilia and artifacts from around the globe. And then immerse yourself in the spirit of exploration and discovery, where every meal becomes a thrilling journey inspired by the legendary pilot's daring exploits. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, there's already Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. And I'm like, you're right. But like, it's not really like a restaurant. So I was trying to think of like, this one's a little hard because I don't know really what you put as a restaurant there. I do. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you've got to keep a restaurant space. Um, this is where I feel like I was kind of stretching it, and I'll go back to the river thing here in the second earlier. But I was trying to figure out like what can you do there, and I was like, maybe you give it kind of this rickety like shack. Well, it's already kind of rickety looking, anyways, but like give it this kind of old like rickety kind of in the jungle shack kind of built, kind of like a real like dive bar, kind of really roughly built, rough wood, like, probably some thatching, and just whatever, make it kind of theme more to that environment. And then have like the hangar, you could take one of those areas and turn it into like a hangar and have an airplane park there or whatever.
Oh,
Um,
that'd be pretty cool.
yeah, and then I was thinking, well, so going back to, I told you earlier, like I said, extend out towards the river. I think it'd be really cool actually to be able to extend out on the back of restaurant stores there and have like a bar area that kind of overlooks the water, and then park like a replica of his watercraft from the first movie on the water there, and have it like it's just a bar, because people love Jock Lindsay's at Disney Springs. So do something kind of where people could hang out, give them an opportunity. 'Cause I feel like Restaurant Source is very like, it's not very utilized, right? So I might give people another kind of lounge area at Animal Kingdom, because Nomad is really popular. I know people love Nomad at Animal Kingdom, but something where people can come and hang out, have some drinks, have some appetizers, or get a meal, get a full meal if they want to. So I was thinking maybe like upscale it a little bit more, and make it more of a like, more of like a table service versus like a quick service. Um, and yeah, just retheme the whole area. Probably could do with getting away with like killing some of that space out, like, and kind of leaving it more open and having some more vegetation and stuff. But I was trying to see. I said
I think
obviously
you
park
could
a plane.
do I think
What's
you
that?
could do pretty good. I mean, leaving it mostly the way it is, you could do it as a because Indiana Jones is an archaeologist, I believe,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I mean, you could leave this as I mean, it's pretty much it's a paleontologist like campsite is what's themed at least part of it,
yeah, yeah. You
and
could
you
do
could
that
leave
too.
that. That'd pretty much
Yeah.
fit right in.
Yeah, and yeah, you could definitely do that. I think you could do that, and maybe you do that, and then you also add on like a Jock Lindsay's, like not even like maybe it's just an extension off to one side. Like you just have like an outdoor bar area that's like a covered outdoor bar area near the water, and have like a plane, and just kind of make it like just a cool like area for people to hang out and grab drinks, and just kind of like almost like an extension of Jocks from Disney Springs, but
Uh,
in the park. Because people, I know a lot of people love Jock Lindsay's down at Disney Springs. So um but yeah, I just think like that to me, and I actually really like, that's a really good idea. Just kind of keep it more of like a campsite for like archaeologists or whatever, or more. Yeah, you could definitely work off that too. And the inside area, I found that inside picture there, like the roofing and stuff actually would work pretty well for I think for whatever you want to do there, because it's kind of got that like rustic look anyway. So
Hmm.
excuse me, but anyways, that was this one was kind of a tough one for me. I was trying to do a little bit of everything for Dinoland because I'm like, let's talk about like every kind of every little section I can. The only thing I did not get to was the gift shop, and I did put gift shop like question mark on my notes because it's like, well, what do you do there? Like, I think if you're going to build a coaster over there, I would almost say you'd have to get rid of it, unless you
Yeah,
use it for like a load area or something. Um, but I think you'd have to get rid of it, and then you probably just have like a gift shop coming out of Dinosaur, right? Like out of
I
where
think
Dinosaur.
I think it'd be really fun if you made it a museum as the store and you call it "It Belongs in a Museum," and then like all of the toys and stuff that they sell in there, it belongs in a museum. You
I
can just kind
love
of
it.
like,
I love it. That would be awesome. It's funny you said that because when we were talking about Dinosaur earlier, I was thinking about, that whole front area of Dinosaur is like when you go into the queue initially, it's like museum, right? Like it's like kind of set up with like artifacts and stuff in the glass cases and everything. And I was like, I wonder if you could do something with that. Like but it would be funny to do that with the gift shop. That would be funny. Like it belongs in the museum. Make it almost like you're at like a Smithsonian or something with like really fancy glass cases and things. Like
yeah,
that would
and
be
just pull
that would
your
be
your Mickey Mouse out.
that would be funny. I really like that idea. That's a good one. So
All the cast members
um
have to wear like white archival gloves and to grab your toy out of the case and
that would
present
be
it to
fun.
you.
Yeah, they have to like lift the glass up and they're like, here's your $2 action figure. Well, no, there's no $2 action figure, your $20 action figure.
Yeah.
So that would be hilarious. So I would love that. So that's the end of my slides, but I do have one more. And so this was my kind of out there blue sky kind of crazy idea. But I was thinking it would be cool. And okay, this is me like going a little bit further out of the pipeline. Whenever Animal Kingdom, going back into the history of Animal Kingdom, whenever it first opened, they had boats. They had boats along the river. And it's kind of always been one of those mythical things where people are like, I remember riding I actually remember riding the boats because they had multiple stops. You could stop at a couple of places
Was
and
Aldar there? I don't know if he was there for the the huge
with
animatronic of Aldar. He was out in the
that.
water.
Yes, yes, yeah. Well, not for when I wrote it. Yes, it's actually funny because I believe that animatronic actually ended up at Disneyland Paris, of all
Wow.
places, and it was like rotting on the backlot there. Um, I don't know how it ended up over there. I don't know how that happened, but I remember seeing pictures of that. But uh, yeah, he was, and they have the dragon kind of that one area, and it's still kind of there over near Avatar, where there was like
Yeah.
the dragon fire kind of coming out of the cave.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
remember
you can
that.
still see the dragon fountain over there. They just don't
Yeah,
run
yeah.
water out of it.
Yeah. But what I would propose is and this is a really far out there proposal, but I would propose like using like that Indiana Jones area as like a boat launch and actually utilizing that river space for something beyond just like they're not even doing them anymore. The flotillas, right? Like they're not even doing
Yeah,
those,
they
right?
just discontinued them, like, last
Yeah.
week or the week before.
So I'd almost propose like using that as like a boat launch for something. I said Jungle Cruise esque, like, I don't think they want to do something the same as Jungle Cruise. I don't know what it is, like, but I think it would be cool to like have something there where it's like almost like a boat, like just a boat tour, like a little boat ride around or something. That space is so underutilized, like it's so
Yeah.
underutilized, and
I
I
was
think
excited to go down there. I went to the Discovery Island stop, because they were setting up Moana's meet and greet. Because if you
right,
guys don't know, that's where Moana's meet and greet is now, is
right.
actually in that boat stop, but
Yeah, that used to be the boat stop. Yep, yep. Yeah, there's I believe there's 3 or 4 stops they used to
yeah, the
have.
one in Asia is now a super zoom photo location for PhotoPass and,
Yeah,
some eating area for some
yeah.
reason, but
See, and I think that's one of those things that where I'm like, it would just add something, like to me, Animal Kingdom, and I know this is always like this is a rarely hot debate, hot topic thing. I believe it's missing. It needs more attractions. Like it definitely needs more attractions. And so my thought process is when you retheme an area, you've got to add some sort of capacity attraction. So that was kind of where when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about you got to add that kind of that high level like a roller coaster where you can eat a lot like a lot of people through the line in an hour, you know. Um,
Mhm.
so Dinosaur is one of those rides. Dinosaur takes a lot of people every hour. I mean, it's taking tons of people. Um, but yeah, like adding something else would be awesome. Like right now, if you think about Dinoland, it's only Dinosaur and Triceratops Spin, and that's not much capacity. So,
Yeah.
um, but anyways, that's kind of the end of my dinosaur or my Dinoland retheme. I propose Indiana Jones. That's what I'm going to propose. I'm going to propose Indiana Jones. Have a lot of fun with it. I don't know. Bring in Tony Baxter. Have him come up with some amazing ideas.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's one thing I was gonna bring up. I was curious why you chose Tony over Joe Rody.
Well, I don't. Joe, obviously, Joe would be a great one as well. I just know Tony was involved with, and I believe he was the lead, if I'm not mistaken, on Disneyland's Indiana Jones Adventure. And I also know he's extremely passionate about Indiana Jones in general. So I would trust that he would do the right service to the IP that it really deserves, like what it deserves to get, and make the story make sense. Like, I think that's one of the things. Like to me, Tony, if you really look at the attractions he's been involved with, like he has always brought a very good story to that attraction. Like, and it's really had a very good beginning, middle, end kind of. Um, so, I mean, obviously Joe would be. I mean, clearly he's a great like Animal Kingdom guy. Get them both to work on it. I don't know if we're going to throw out ideas. Get them both to work on it. Get
We'll have
Joe
to
in there
bring
to
him
do
back
kind of
from Virgin
the
Galactic or whatever it is.
yeah. Well, he's back with Imagineering, right? Or at least temporarily
It
he
was like a
was. So.
as like a consultant or something. I don't know.
Right, right. Yeah, they're trying to garner some goodwill. So, so
All right,
anyway, so that's my retheme idea, and let's see what you got, man. What's yours? Let's see.
all right. I'm going to steal one of your slides here. Which one was it? Steal the boneyard because I didn't make a visual for my boneyard concept, and that's the actually put that in the middle. It's fine. So my theme, I'll go. Let's hope this doesn't screw everything up. I'll go with my visuals for now, and I'll maybe come back to the boneyard or whatever. So, Doug Flight is the name of
Doug Flight.
the first attraction, and I'm curious if you immediately get the play on words that I did here.
Doug Flight. Doug Flight. I probably
It's
should,
okay.
but I'm not.
All right, so so obviously my theming for Dinoland, my re-theme is Up. Disney Pixar's Up, which I believe just turned like 15 years old or something. Something crazy.
Probably, yeah, yeah.
Way too old. It makes me feel old. Not saying something. But anyway, so Doug Flight, it's a play on words of dog fight.
Oh,
So
right. Okay.
I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't figure Disney would want to name their attraction after a war term. Now if they do, they can change my title to Dogfight. Because this attraction, good, I have these in order.
Look at you,
Um,
man. It's impressive.
yeah, I had a lot of time on my hands. So hopefully you can tell this is. Wait, I've got one more. I'm gonna go. Okay, nope. All right, and I'm missing that graphic. I am. It's okay. We will survive without it. So I did. So this is Triceratops spin. Is where I'm starting with
Oh,
here.
okay. Yep.
So you obviously wouldn't have to change much. You could just change the vehicles. This is themed after the climactic scene in the movie where the dogs are chasing after the house. It's been a little while since I watched it. I remember Russell has his balloons and he's got a leaf blower. So maybe it was sometime during that scene. They have Charles Muntz sends out his dogs on these fancy flying contraptions, these little biplanes, for a quote unquote dog fight in the air. That was
Yeah.
obviously a very intentional use of the play on words. So taking that, I let me read off my not as eloquently written little hype text of my attraction here. Take flight aboard a biplane to relive the climactic scene from Disney Pixar's Up. Join Doug in his training boot camp for your pilot training and get a glimpse of the beautiful scenery of Paradise Falls as you soar high in the sky. So, the idea being is first of all, where the famous giant blue fence now, where Primeval Whirl is, behind that, will it, budget allowing, will create like a replica of like Paradise Falls,
Okay.
something to that extent. Make it look like the tropical Americas, not just the giant blue fence that's there now. Um, so as you're flying around in the circle, not only do you have this little story, maybe there's screens in the queue that show Doug, and he's talking to you about how he learned how to fly, so he's going to teach you that kind of deal. And you get in the little planes from the movie. If you can see, the
Right.
control lever is a dog bone for up and
Oh yeah, I
down,
see there. Yeah, yeah.
and the fake gauges on either side for like I don't know longitude, whatever. I've never flown a plane, so I wouldn't know. But that that's the idea is that you're able to move up and down, and at the top. I really wish I had my graphic. I'm very sad that I missed this somehow. But I drew Doug on the top, sitting on top where the Triceratops is now, and I didn't actually know until I was researching this attraction that there's little flaps at the top that apparently used
Right.
to
Yeah.
open and close and have the Triceratops pop out.
Yeah.
So I figured it would be the other dogs from the movie popping out of there with their little heads. Um,
Nice.
so that's what I had for Triceratops spin. All right, we have up and away. So this takes the I believe it's called Emotional Whirlwind in Paradise Pier or Pixar Pier now.
Okay. Yeah.
That ride system. So you'd be sitting in the house area as like the lower part of the bucket as it swings you around. Um, Obviously themed after the house from the movie with the balloons being above you. Up and away. Take a trip aboard the iconic house from Disney Pixar's classic Up. This high flying spinner ride is sure to excite the youngest kid to oldest adult. So the idea is fun for all ages. Now, where would this go? This would be where Primeval Whirl was. So my thinking was Disney had a cheaper, pre-built ride there, so they could take a cheaper pre-built ride and put it back there.
Yeah.
It'd be very reasonable for them to do, and very easy to theme it to Up. So that's what I did. Um, the next one, this is the one I was most excited about. Actually,
Heaven on the
just
run.
kidding. We're gonna go back to your graphic for a second before we
Okay.
get that, because I can't end with Boneyard. That would be a little a little sad. Um, so I called it Paradise Fall Playground, um, or Paradise Playground, whichever one. I figured Paradise Playground might be too close to Paradise Pier, but then I remembered Paradise Pier doesn't exist anymore, so maybe it wouldn't be a problem. But the idea is that let's see here. So I wrote, kids of all ages will enjoy exploring all that Paradise Falls has to offer in this fun camping themed playground. And then I put the wilderness must be explored. Caw caw roar. So it's like we're pretending that like Doug or not Doug, Russell went on like a camping trip with his fellow buddies from Wilderness Explorers. Um and set up camp in this little area of the wilderness. And so you're kind of playing around in their camp. I didn't figure out what exactly you might be digging up. I was trying to think of like what could you use the dig site for on the other side? Like what could you use to make that fit the theming? Not too sure.
Well,
I
you
was
know
like
that
maybe they could.
Charles Munson had all those skeletons.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't know if you could. maybe you make it like almost like a fantastical creature kind of. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
there's something you could figure out. Like you could add the what was his spirit of adventure?
sure.
What was it called? Spirit of adventure. The big
It
balloon. The
sounds
big
sounds
yeah
about right. The
yeah, and have
Zeppelin.
that. Maybe you could have that like part behind it, almost like as part,
Oh yeah,
and have something. I don't know. I mean that would fit within the bone thing, um, but yeah, I don't know. Like you could easily you could just grind it down and just like do rock work that's similar to the Paradise Falls rocks and stuff too.
yeah.
So
That's kind of what I was thinking. Is maybe it'd
you
be
know,
more just like tropical exploring. I was thinking maybe there could be like a water element on the other side, like maybe a waterfall. Maybe like I don't know, maybe a
or
splash pad. But a
you could
splash pad
do
would be
the
questionable.
um, you know, the area that Kevin always runs into. That's like they're
Oh
like the
yeah,
darkness. You can make it like something like that, where it's like
just
kind
a
of
giant maze for kids to get lost in. That sounds great.
yeah, it's like a giant maze of rocks for kids to get lost in. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Sounds like no problems at all for Disney's lawyers, I'm sure.
yeah, you know, kids get lost all the time.
Yeah. Um. All right, so we'll go back to it. So Kevin on the run. Here we go. So clearly, our e-ticket attraction for the land. This would obviously go where Dinosaur is now. My hype text reads: "The wilderness must not only be explored but protected as well. Since the events of the movie, the wilderness explorers have kept careful watch on Kevin and her babies. However, poachers have been spotted in the area. It is up to you and your team of wilderness explorers to help rescue Kevin and her babies from extinction." So threw in
Oh,
the
I like the
countdown
from
to
extinct.
extinction. Little, yeah,
I like that for yeah.
yeah. I mean, because as far as we know, they're the only ones of their kind. So I mean, they could technically be extinct if they were captured and killed. Um, so yeah, the idea is so I'll go one more slide. So the Wilderness Explorer logo on the hood there, put
Yeah.
like you know, a backpack on the back with like a flag that has the logo. Pretty much just slap that logo all over this thing. Um, here's the full blown thing that I did. Obviously, where the orange circles are would be the logo. I just didn't add it there. Um, so the idea here being, I kind of made this image here, and I was like, wait, that doesn't really go with what I was saying. So I was thinking, you find Kevin first, and then Kevin helps you find her babies all around the place. So it's kind of like, and maybe you could, I'm not sure how you. I was kind of thinking that maybe you could make it into like the hide and squeak or whatever, like in I think it's Tokyo Disney or something, where you have like the little flashlights and you're trying to find
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
So you
Yeah.
could kind of make it, but she only has three babies, so the maximum score of that game would be three. But something around that, maybe there's an affixed light on the front of the truck that could point towards them when you find them, or something of the sort. And it'd be kind of cool if they did it like the ET adventure at Universal, where on the back of the truck the little babies start popping up so they can ride along
Oh
with
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how doable that would be, but something of the sort like that. But yeah, and obviously the background here is very scenic, and um, I would assume it would be daylight in the ride. I know that the ride currently stands in the dark, and that kind of helps hide a lot of the other stuff
It
going on there.
does. It
Um,
does.
but bring it in the daylight, just go all the way, no hiding anything in there. But you
Hey,
could
go all
reuse a
out.
lot of the plants and everything. I mean, I know they're like prehistoric plants, but I mean they could be tropical plants. I don't know.
Well, the funny thing about those plants in there is that this is so bad. Um, when you actually see it with and you could probably find some videos with the lights on, but they're literally like wooden like crates with like like Hobby Lobby like ferns sticking out of them. Like they're not great because the lighting really assists a lot. So
Yeah, and I guess I should have said at the beginning because we were kind of giving our thoughts on Dinoland as a whole. So honestly, Dinoland was my least favorite land until I moved to Florida, and then like Animal Kingdom used to be my least favorite park. I was like, why did anybody go to Animal Kingdom? It's only got Everest and Flight of Passage, and now I'm like, I could care less about Everest and Flight of Passage. Just like show me like the wow, blanking on all the names right now. The the bird show that they used to be up themed, which is part of the reason I brought the up theming into this because it already exists
Right.
in all of Animal Kingdom because you can do the Lotus Explorer thing. But yeah, I mean, so my love of Animal Kingdom started when I moved there and had a lot more time to freely walk about the parks because usually as a day guest, you're just trying to hop from one attraction to the other, avoid the sun as much as possible so you don't burn too crisp. Um, that kind of thing. But once I lived there, and especially when I worked there, so I was custodial for a time there during my CP, and I did photo pass there, so I got to spend a lot of time in Animal Kingdom, and the detail there is insane. I mean, every square inch of that place is so super detailed. I used to say that when Galaxy's Edge first, or not first opened, but after my what do I want to call it? Not necessarily like come to Jesus with Dino Land, but my realization of the beauty that can be Dino Land. Um, that I was like, yeah, there's so much more detail here than there is in like Galaxy's Edge, because like
Mm.
Galaxy's Edge, it has a lot of stuff going on, but it doesn't quite feel right. And maybe that's because it's like space themed and not like set in a real world. But like you go to Dinoland and you can get the feeling that you're like at an old gas station that became a tourist attraction. Like I feel like you can really kind of pick up on that. Whereas Galaxy's Edge, I don't know, it just feels a little flat to me. And maybe that's a little too harsh to put it, but obviously Galaxy Edge, the first time I went there, I was blown away. But, just, like, looking at, like, bulletin boards that are in, like, the boneyard, which I have pictures of on my phone for the day they close it, um, it's just, like, they thought of everything, and, yeah, there may have been budget cuts, but, like, they made it work for their advantage, like, it makes sense in the story that they're telling that this is a gas station that turned into a tourist attraction because they discovered bones in the area, and so I think they did that really well. And I spent a lot of time in Dinoland doing photos, took pictures with Chippendale every day. So I enjoy the overlay of like the Duckburg stuff. The um,
Right.
why am I blanking on it right now? Dino Bash.
Kind
Yeah,
bash,
Donald's
yeah.
Dino Bash. Like I think that was pretty well executed because they needed something, and the characters really do add to it,
Yeah.
and they work well within the story that they've built around that. Um, and I mean, recently they've apparently decided to hire somebody to play the Dino Institute intern. I don't know if you've seen him going around strumming his guitar in
I have not
Restaurantosaurus.
seen that. No.
In recent months, they've gotten an intern to walk around playing the guitar in Dinoland. Um,
Interesting.
Yeah. So and like if you go into Restaurantosaurus, which I didn't cover in my thing because I didn't even think about. I honestly, I the reason I don't have visuals for the Boneyard is because I didn't think about it until after the fact. But um, I the restaurant is also really detailed, and it doesn't have to be because it's
Yeah.
just a place that people take their kids to get a burger because there's like no other place that serves burgers in all of Animal Kingdom.
Right. Right.
But like, I did until I had a chance to look around and see that, like, there's, like, bunk beds up in the ceiling and stuff. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy what they've done with that area.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in my ideal world, I would keep Dinoland. I was honestly so when we signed up to do this, and we are like, "Alright, we're doing Dinoland. Dinoland's my baby." I was like, "I gotta do Dinoland right." And I was like, all right, of course we're gonna keep Dinoland. I mean, I'm just gonna like extend Dinoland. I'm gonna make Dinoland the most amazing land that ever was. And I sat around and I was trying to think of like what could you put there that would make Dinoland better and more interesting to a lot more people. And honestly, I couldn't think of something, and I started thinking about Animal Kingdom and the whole um, the Wilderness Explorers program that's there, and which is kind of my part of the reason I thought of that is because that's what my job. I work at the North Carolina Zoo, and part of my job as an educator is pretty much doing exactly what those guys do over there, but at our zoo. So yeah, I just thought it worked well, and it also could continue the theme of conservation because I think that's a big theme for Animal Kingdom as a whole,
Yeah.
instead of just finding an IP that has animals in the title or in the movie and putting it in there. I think now this is kind of going on a tangent, but I think Moana could have worked better than Encanto because Encanto is not about animals at all,
Mhm.
and it's about a family in a house, and they don't like ever leave the house except for like the last 5 minutes of the movie. But like Moana is about like going out there and exploring the world and seeing nature. I feel like Moana would be a pretty good ambassador for conservation because I mean the reason she has to leave her island is to save it because there's
Yeah.
something killing all the plants and stuff, and that would play perfectly into the story of Animal Kingdom. Um, but that's not what I did my thing about. I did Up. So
Well, and I think that there's like the cool thing about it is like there's so many like there's a lot of things you could do. Like there's a lot of things you could do with that area. And I think even like you said, like even keeping it dinosaur theme. I mean you could, I don't know. Again, like I'm kind of like you, like the problem that they fall into is how do you keep it relevant and exciting for like a new audience? Because they don't really have anything as dinosaur, IP wise.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean,
Because
I think
everybody's
that's
clearly
the
seen the 2000s movie, whatever it
right.
is.
Well, I don't know about that, um, but yeah, so I mean, that's really all they've got those dinosaur themes, or dinosaur IP wise. So yeah, so all right.
So yeah, that's it for my presentation
Did
on
you
my
beyond one of the other ones that you and I talked about, I thought about was Duckburg. And I really I really debated Duckburg for a while because they already kind of have with Dino Bash they've had Launchpad over there, they've had Scrooge over there, they've had obviously Donald over there. Um, and I was thinking it would be kind of cool to do like a Duckburg theme for that area and kind of make like an adventure in dinosaur and turn it into like Uncle Scrooge looking for his lucky dime or something, like he's out adventuring. Like there's you could do some cool stuff, and then I was like, but that doesn't really like fit, like it doesn't necessarily fit the Animal Kingdom vibe, I don't think.
and
So
I think part of the reason that they haven't brought Launchpad and Scrooge back as meet and greets is because they canceled the show. I mean, DuckTales,
yeah,
the reboot
yeah,
got canceled
right.
at the same time they were opening the Epcot DuckTales themed adventure thing, which
Yeah,
was
the
I don't know if that
World
just got
Showcase
pushed
thing.
back or what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the World Showcase thing. Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
that
I
was
think
my
they just kinda stepped away from it.
that was ultimately my thing is I was kind of like, well, there's a couple of reasons why I don't think. I think that from an IP perspective or recognizability, I don't know that it's going to be that popular. But I was also like, too, like I don't think it really fits with Animal Kingdom. Like
Mhm.
you'd just be it's because like you said, it'd be like, cool, because it's got animals in it. You can just stick it there. So like I don't want to do that. And so to me, like the Indiana Jones one for me, it fit a little bit more just because I think it's a popular IP. I think it's still a popular IP. Um, and it's
I
something
was
where
I was
what's
telling
that?
my wife about that. I was like, "Yeah, Derek's gonna do all of Indiana Jones," and she was like, "I don't think anybody will like that. I mean, there's not that big of an audience for Indiana Jones." And I was
Right.
like, "Well,
There's
I think the audience is bigger than you think, but."
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. It's not like is it a massive audience? I don't I would debate that it's bigger than Encanto.
Oh, it
I
probably I mean, it's been
I would
around for almost 50 years now, right? Something
Yeah,
like that.
it's been around since the 80s. I believe the first movie was in the 80s. So yeah, I'm like, that's been around a while. So so I, but I mean, I also understand like it's probably not as necessarily as kid friendly. I mean, clearly they're wanting something that will sell merchandise, that's going to, Indiana Jones probably not going to sell a ton of merchandise. Although I do love that it belongs in the museum,
Yeah.
but like I think that's we definitely
Disney,
need that. But
at the very least, you can take my idea. You can
yeah,
have it. It's
it's
yours.
like we got to have that in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, I love the up I did too. I think the up is one of those like I honestly can't believe it's not been tapped for some sort of attraction.
Yeah.
Um, it's because
I feel
it
like it'd be
does.
perfect for Animal Kingdom too, because
Yeah,
it's
it
all
would.
about
Yeah,
adventuring, explore. I mean, if not there, like Adventureland, sure, like
yeah, yeah. Well, like I told you, I was telling the other day, Grant, that I had years ago I'd proposed an up attraction over in Adventureland, and kind of like in the Swiss Family Robinson area, kind of like making a cool like a almost I would pitch a dark ride as kind of setting. Well, it wouldn't be necessarily dark. I think you got to have some of that vibrant color and stuff, but like um, where it's like you're riding in the house and stuff. I think that would be cool. Um,
Mhm.
but I love the fighters and stuff too. That's cool. The dog fighter thing. So that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is, so both of us chose to take the whole land and make it one IP, which I mean kind of works because the whole land currently is one, not
Right.
IP, but one idea, which is dinosaurs. But I really feel like, from what I've heard, it seems like Disney is really moving away from doing single IP lands because, like we're talking about Star Wars, like you either love it or you hate it, and if
Yeah.
you hate it, then there's a whole section of Hollywood studios that you don't even care about. So it really kind of seems like that's probably why we have these like mixed IP ideas for tropical Americas for Animal Kingdom.
Well, I think the shame of that is that, and I I'm sorry, I keep referencing them, but I think the shame of that is like you have like a Universal that is continually doing like an IP based land, and it works,
Yeah,
like the Harry Potter stuff is fantastic, phenomenal. I'm not even a Harry Potter guy. Like I don't like Harry Potter. I'm not really into it. But I mean, I walk in, I'm like, holy cow, this is cool. Like this is really well done. So I think if it's done correctly, like Star Wars, like Galaxy's Edge, I think that it really missed the mark in a lot of ways. And so I think that if it's done correctly, if you have a cohesive team behind the entirety of it, like it can be done and done well. Um, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it does seem like they've gotten away from. Although, like you have Avatar, Avatar's fairly recent. Um, they're Galaxy's Edge. Galaxy's Edge. I think it's kind of hit or miss. Um, but yeah, I do think that like it can be done. Will it be done? Doesn't seem that
yeah.
way, but or at least not in a large scale, anyways, like a full like Dinoland. So yeah.
All right, so I think that about does it for us. So I want to throw the question out to our listeners or watchers, whichever one. Um, if you have an idea for an episode we should do in the future, feel free to. I guess I should have thought about this before I started the sentence, but I'm assuming we'll have an Instagram by the time this goes live, so maybe message us over there. Um, Maybe you can email us. Let me make sure I get our email right. I believe it's reimagineerpod@gmail.com.
Yep.
Feel free to email us with all those ideas. I will say for our next episode, I do believe we agreed on Test Track,
Yes. Yeah.
since that's kind of what Disney is working on next. So that's what we're going to work on next. We're going to get in there and figure out something for that ride.
I've got some ideas.
All
That should
right.
be our tagline. We've got ideas.
Yeah, we sure do.
Some are good. Some are even good ones.
Yeah, occasionally. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you'll listen or watch to the next one. And yeah, I guess that does it for us.
All right. See you guys.